Hey, welcome back to the channel. Thank you so much for checking out this video. I really do appreciate it. I hope you're having a fantastic day, as always, as we move into the final weekend of October. Crazy, crazy to believe we're heading into November already. So I have an NBA story here for you that hits close to home because it is specifically about the Sixers, but it addresses a rather large issue within the NBA as a whole that has become a problem, especially over the last few years. And this is this idea of load management, where these superstars who get paid tons of money don't actually want to have to play in all the games for which they're getting paid. So see, they want to sit out to rest and to manage the load on their bodies to help lessen the chance of injury, which is nonsense, but that's a whole nother story. The problem is it's gotten so big that it actually is a problem for the NBA, which has now developed a player participation policy, and they are going to now investigate the Sixers and Joel Embiid for a possible violation of this policy. Joel Embiid has had injuries his entire career. The man never plays a full season. Although he did just decide to play in the Olympics, and then at the last minute, this was also poorly handled by the Sixers. He sat out opening night. And they've been very, very squirrely about it, but it seems as if the man is not even injured. It's just that sitting out the opening game of the season is somehow part of his individualized plan so that he'll be healthy for the playoffs. The playoffs for which he's never taken the Sixers out of the second round. I might get frustrated in this one, folks. I've watched the decade long plus process of trusting the process, which has been an absolute disaster for the 76ers. But let's dig into this a little bit and we'll get into why this is an issue for the entire league. And I want to hear your thoughts on how we fix this. So let's listen to what they have to say on NBA Today on ESPN.
For this opening week due to injury management. And the question that I've been asking, as they essentially announced that he would not be playing in back-to-backs and he's going to be incredibly careful this year, is what does the league think of all that? What more can you tell us?
I'm told by multiple sources, Malika, that the NBA is set to start an investigation later this week into the Philadelphia 76ers and this situation surrounding Joel Embiid and whether they are in violation of the player participation policy. And this is a complicated situation for the league, for the Sixers, and obviously Joel Embiid, because it's not black and white in terms of there is no specific injury. Like with Kawhi Leonard, we know he's got that swelling in his knee. With Chris Middleton, we know that he has double ankle surgery that he's coming off of. With Joel Embiid, it's been a lot of the new normal that we've been told in terms of the periodic time off that he is scheduled to take this upcoming season, as well as making sure, in his perspective, that he is 100% for the playoffs. He has not been his entire NBA career. So this is really the Philadelphia 76ers strategy for the season on how they can best approach it. And that is how they want to go about it. Does the league have an issue with it? We are going to find out very soon.
The issue, I think, was when Joel Embiid says publicly, I will play no more back-to-backs.
Right.
You know, even if he doesn't play any more back-to-backs, the league doesn't exactly like that messaging. And also, it doesn't follow their policies about having him sort of go through various protocols. I think generally what the league doesn't want to have here is there to be any sort of thing that's, you know, not based on the best product. And what it looks like is that maybe they didn't exactly cross all their T's and dot their I's on this.
Sure.
But Joel would, because of his injury history, qualify for missing games because of his history of injuries. But announcing, for example, you're going to miss a back-to-back in March, in September, doesn't exactly follow that rule.
Right, because he does follow the criteria, as you're saying, about the superstars with the prerequisite amount of league experience. He does fall into that category.
Wow. Okay. So I got some other clips I want to play you as well, but it really is. First of all, it's typical for the NBA to review a team anytime a superstar now player misses a nationally televised game, as per their player participation policy. Now, notice how the NBA is worried about the nationally televised game. They're worried about TV ratings. They're not worried about the poor, hardworking fan who maybe has saved up their money to go see their favorite player, to go see a superstar in person, because that doesn't mean anything to the NBA. That's a very insignificant amount of money, an individual buying a ticket or for their family. You, as a supporter of the league, you do not matter as an individual. It's the big corporate advertisers who shell out the big bucks on the TV games. They matter. And superstars sitting out affect the TV ratings, and that actually hits the NBA in the wallet, which is really what this is all about for the NBA. Now, for me, it's about the player getting paid to do a job and not doing it, as well as that hardworking fan who bought overpriced tickets to see their superstar player play, and then they get there and that player is sitting out, not because they're not injured, but just because of this ridiculous idea of load management. People pay a lot of money to see the so-called superstars play. And before I get into that a little bit more, I want to play this. This is Nick Nurse, Sixers head coach, and this is where you also get some issues as well. You heard them talk about the fact that Embiid just basically came out and said, "Oh, I'm not playing in the second game of back-to-backs." Just the man. Well, we'll get. I got another clip for you about what he's getting paid for that. But let's dig into this a little bit. This is a little low, so hopefully you can hear this. But he's being asked about Joel Embiid sitting out opening night.
He did not re-injure himself, but the plan is we don't feel like he's quite ready, strong enough, light enough, whatever it is that they've determined that he's not quite ready to go, hasn't been in any full court scrimmages, etc. And that's the plan.
So here you go, folks. Joel Embiid is out of shape. That's basically all this is. This is a guy who's soft. I've said this as a Sixers fan for many years. He's mentally soft. When it comes down to the tough games, he just doesn't produce. He is lazy. Obviously, he's lazy. He is overweight. I saw where he had to lose 30 or 40 pounds. They said he lost and he could lose a little more. Don't forget, he just played in the Olympics. As you heard here, he's not injured. The man is not injured, but he's going to sit out opening night. And they're saying that somehow is going to help him be ready for the playoffs in May. By the way, they played the Bucks. They lost to the Bucks. The Bucks will be a team that they will compete with for a seed in the playoffs, which, yes, does matter. I know sometimes lower seeds win, but it is important. You want to play at home. You want to play a lesser opponent in the first round and so forth. So this whole idea is absolutely ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous. And I'm going to get some more examples of that. But first, I want you to hear a little bit. This is a small clip. I know there was more with Charles and Shaq going back and forth, but I want to play this little clip from Charles Barkley with regard to what Joel Embiid is doing. And again, this isn't just Joel Embiid, folks. You got way too many players in the NBA that do this stuff nowadays, which is why the NBA got a participation policy going in the first place.
But, man, I don't have any idea what the Sixers are doing. You know, I don't think it's fair. Now, listen, I want to get this number right because this is crazy, and bless the kid, number one. He just signed for 3 years, $193 million. 3 years, $193 million to play basketball. We're not steel workers. We're not nurses. Like, people who got, like, real jobs who have to work 40, 50 hours a week. We're playing basketball at the most 4 days a week. Most of the time, 3 days a week. He has the best backup in the league at Drummond. If they had to say it, and Ken and Shaq know this, they just say, I'm going to play 25 minutes on the second night or back-to-back, or during Drummond plays. But to come out and say it in advance was a stupidity by the Sixers, period.
100%, like you said, stupidity by the Sixers. Did you hear that number, folks? 3 years, $193 million for a guy that, again, let's go back. I want to show you this. He's played 433 games in his 8-year career. Why? Because look at his game numbers. First of all, he didn't play the first 2 seasons. 31, 63, 64, 51, 51, 68, 66, 39. And he only averages 32 minutes per game. But he's going to get $193 million for three more seasons. He's never gotten them out of the second round of the playoffs. This is just real quick. This is Michael Jordan, just to give you an idea of what goes on. Now, Jordan in his very last season, when he was, 39 years old, played all 82 games and averaged 37 minutes a game. For his career, he averaged 38.3 minutes a game, as you can see, and led the league many, many times. He played 82 in his first. He had I forget what the injury was, but in his second season, he had a major injury. But other than that, until he came back, I think he came back, at the end of the season. So you look, other than a couple of seasons in there, Jordan played 78, 80, all 82 games a season. Look at this, 40 minutes, 40 minutes, 40 minutes. The man averaged over 38 minutes a game. But Joel Embiid can't play while healthy on opening night. And when I say healthy, yeah, he's probably not in shape because he's lazy. He did nothing after the Olympics, I'm sure, put on a lot of weight. And now he wants to sit out because he's not ready. Larry Bird. See, it was different back in the day. Now, the end here, this is where he had a really serious back injury, which he struggled to come back from, which is why, you can see the tail end of his career. But again, up to that, 76, 74, 82, 80, 79, 79. He played games. Again, a guy who averaged over 38 minutes a game, but they simply can't do that anymore. These guys that get paid far, far more money, and people are paying a lot of money. For those of you who got here from Caitlin Clark stuff, the ticket prices that were demanded and that people paid in other places just to see Caitlin Clark. People will pay a lot of money to see their favorite superstars. And I really should say in the NBA now, so-called superstars, because a lot of them don't play often enough. When it's done like this, and it's not just the Sixers, that's what I said, more and more teams are doing this. That's why there's a league policy. It seems a lot more like fraud to me. You're holding out a star player for rest when that's who the ticket buying fans are paying to see. And that seems very, very wrong. Again, you heard Nick Nurse. Joel Embiid is not injured. He's just simply not going to play with the excuse of we want him ready in May. I'm telling you right now, sitting out opening night is not going to positively or negatively affect whether he's healthy for the playoffs in May. I'm going to give you two clear examples, okay? I want to give you two clear examples that you really understand to see that this is a big deal. Lionel Messi entering and playing in MLS. With different tournaments, for those of you that don't know soccer, there's a whole bunch. You've got a lot of other stuff that goes on during the regular season of these teams with Champions League and Europa and FA Cup and U.S. Open Cup in America, national team play and all that. And you have players, because of the rules, playing full or almost full games because of the substitution rules. And so soccer, there are legitimately times when players do miss games for rest because maybe they've got a week where they've got two league games and a Champions League game in the same week, and you have to manage who's playing what, because if you're starting, you're most likely playing all 90 minutes plus. But when you get a situation like Messi, you got people who are paying insane ticket prices for a possibly once in a lifetime chance to see him play. And so that became a real issue that had to be managed with Inter Miami and when he was going to play and when he was going to rest because of tickets in other places being sold for crazy amounts of money. Here, I'll give you a clearer example. The WNBA and Caitlin Clark, right? Could you imagine anywhere really, but especially in some place like, say, Washington or Atlanta, where they normally draw 4,000 people, and now they're going to draw 17,000, 20,000 because Indiana Fever are in town and people want to see Caitlin Clark play. And then they get to the game and find out a healthy Caitlin Clark is not playing at all because it's rest day for load management reasons. That's what happens in the NBA nowadays. That is how they do it in the NBA. And the thing is, what is the solution? I'm not completely sure. Maybe no guaranteed contracts. Maybe you don't get 190 million, 93 million for 3 years for possibly doing nothing. Maybe you get paid by the game. No play, no pay. But then, of course, what about legitimate injuries, right? Then every single injury becomes like a slip and fall case where each side hires their own experts. I mean, could you imagine the nightmare that would become? Unfortunately, we've entered a very soft era where these guys get paid obscene amounts of money. The money's guaranteed, and they don't feel like they actually have to put forth an effort anymore. Players used to simply show up and play night in and night out. Many even played through injuries. Nowadays, these athletes who are supposedly in better shape, supposedly have better training routines, have better nutrition, and better everything. And by the way, a lot more money to pay for their own stuff as well. They seemingly aren't fit enough to make it through a season. And that is the big issue. Far too many healthy players are missing games for no real reason other than they are soft and don't feel like playing an entire season. Which leads to the other big problem without a solution as well, and that is the complete lack of effort. I watched the opening night game with the was it Knicks and Celtics, and I feel like pickup games and go to the local park and get into a pickup game, and they're far, far more intense and competitive than what we get from the NBA nowadays. The Boston Celtics jacked up 61 three-point shots. Most of them were wide open. That's what the NBA is nowadays. You kind of just pass around a few times and someone takes an open three. Man, here's my dream. I think let's take the competitiveness we see in the WNBA and merge it with the skill in the NBA, and then we might get a really good basketball league. But I'm going to leave it there. Wow, this got really long. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below about load management, this whole issue of player participation, and really, is there an actual solution to the situation? Because how do you prove a player's not actually injured and out for legitimate reasons and just not feeling like playing an entire season? I'm really not sure on that one. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. I really do appreciate it. And I will talk to you later.